Hello, everyone. Whoever there is joining live in the stratosphere in the universe. We are here today going to be talking a little bit more about the art of caring leadership. And so I'm joined by Mr. Steve Paul. Hello there, Steve.
Good morning,
And,
Heather.
and we're also joined by Stace Williams. Hello there, Stace.
Hi there.
She's so good. She's got her t-shirt on. Like, I don't even put the t-shirt on as much as everybody else puts their t-shirt on.
Wait,
The
other
Caring
side,
Leadership
Stace.
T-shirt. Yes, and in the back, what does it say in the back? It says, let's see. So you think you're a caring leader.
I don't know if my headphones will let me read
Take
them
the
out.
test to find out. And that would be the test is the Caring Leadership Self-Assessment.com, the Caring Leadership Self-Assessment.com. And so when you go there, you can take the free self-assessment, you can do the upgraded report that gives you more information. And then it enters you into this entire caring leadership universe. And we're talking again about my newest book, The Art of Caring Leadership. I love this cover. What I love most about the book, I love the cover. So yes, I love it. What I love most though is that I've highlighted 80 of some of the best humans on the planet in here. And it's not about their perfection. It's the brilliance that's exhibited through the stories they tell about times when maybe they weren't the best, or examples of when they were the best versions of themselves, the most caring leaders or leaders of the heart. So today I have Steve on here. He is one of the leaders that I highlighted in that book. And we're going chapter by chapter. So this week we're going to be talking about make them feel important. Make them feel important. And Stace is here as a caring leadership coach. So as a part of this, I didn't want this to be just a book. I wanted to be a full support system. So that as any other book, you read a book and you're like, wow, I'm jazzed. Now what do I do? So I wanted to give you tips in the book, and then I wanted to put you into a place where you can kind of gauge where you stand, and then enter into an academy or into a community that helps you, an academy that helps fill in gaps. And so, we have another guest here, Gustavo. I'm so excited you were able to make it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. How are you, Heather? Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
I haven't seen you in like 2 years. It's awesome to see you. Gustavo Tavares, top employers out of Brazil. I met him in Brazil. He is another leader that we highlighted in this chapter on Make Them Feel Important. And I met, so he moderated my talk. It was like a Q&A at the HBR, Harvard Business Review Brazil event. Gosh, that was 2019. Was that? Oh man.
Yeah, 2019.
Time is just flying. So it's so exciting to be here. I was just saying. So we're talking about out of the art of caring leadership, and I don't even know if you ever got this book. I sent it to you. I did in Brazil, and I did it like months ago. But who knows if you ever got it? So in this book, there are 9 behaviors. The second chapter that we're talking about today is making them feel important, and for some reason, Stace just went off video, but maybe that was purposeful. There you go. Okay, good. So we have Steve here who's in there. We have Gustavo, and then we have Stace, who is, again, one of the caring leadership coaches. I handpicked the coaches because I knew they automatically embodied and exhibit a lot of the caring leadership behaviors, many of them, so that they could coach people who felt like there were maybe gaps in their leadership as it related to caring. And it's a lot of research, talking to lots and lots of leaders, obviously reading thousands of employee survey comments and sitting in hundreds of focus groups with employees. It is founded in not just gut feel, but in a lot of research. So super excited about that. All right, so let's dive in. Did you ever get that, Gustavo? Did you ever get that book? I have to know. The thing I mailed to you.
I haven't. I don't know what happened with the Brazilian mail, but I will receive. I know.
Okay, and if not, hopefully it's out. So go get it, because that means you haven't even had a chance to read your words, all the words in here. But that's all right. I appreciate you joining, and you know how this goes. So yes, I think, yeah, right. This is the work you do. So actually, let's do that. Actually, I want to share a little. Have you each share about yourself. So instead of me just joining, Steve, tell a little bit about you. Stace, same thing with you, and Gustavo about you, but just about what you do and why you are here, why this is important to you. Steve, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. And thanks for having me. And it's really impressive, Heather, to see your worldwide reach. Glad to meet you virtually here, Gustavo. And so for years, construction was my industry, and we grew a multi-million-dollar a year company, and we couldn't have done it without believing in our people and helping them feel important. And so that is a basic, it is a tenet that is so special to me. If you read my story in the book about how important Zig Ziglar made me feel, and I was just, I was nobody at that particular convention. I was nobody. And so I think one of the important takeaways through my entire career has simply been that you have to really do things. This isn't just a platitude, make people feel important. You have to give them responsibility. You have to trust them. And there's a lot more to it, but Stace and Gustavo, I'd love to hear your stories here.
Stace, you want to go?
I'm happy to go, although I'm also very curious to hear from you, Gustavo. I've been a leader since the mid 1980s. It didn't start off well, and the pointed feedback I got was critical to helping me take a look at myself and start me on a journey of development. And although it was a very painful moment, it was a great experience because it led me to discover my passion. My why is to help others grow, and to give and to grow myself. So that started me in 1988 as a facilitator at the utility company here in the Denver area, where Heather and I both make our homes. And a couple of years later, I went independent. And for over 20 years, I've had the pleasure, the honor, the privilege of coaching leaders like you folks to be as excellent as they can be. And I am so blessed to now have the resource I've been looking for all along, Heather, and one I wish I'd had when I was that early, young, failed leader, The Art of Caring Leadership. So thanks for selecting me as a caring leadership coach. I can't wait to see you all, and I'm speaking to the viewers here, on the link, the Caring Leadership community. So thanks for having me, Heather, and let's hear from you, Gustavo.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you again for having me. It's impressive to see against Heather's reach is absolutely over the top. Well, my story is very interesting, at least from some perspectives. I have been working in human resources consulting for the past 20 years now. Several roles, several positions, several countries, and probably one of the biggest coincidences, I would say, but one of the marks of my leadership style was that I have all my teams have presented the highest scores in terms of engagement, in terms of commitment, and in turn, I have been able to secure very high levels of results for the organization. It was some people say, but Gustavo, how one thing is connected to the other? I say it's totally connected because one thing doesn't happen without the other. It was always interesting to see that the level of engagement was always something that I was able to obtain first, then get the results later. So it was something that was always something very interesting because it was not the opposite. So I was always in all my challenges. My first concern was to make sure that I had people engaged, I had people on board, and have people trusting that the process is good, that the way they will be treated was fair, and that they were committed and happy and motivated to do their job. And then results came. So I have led two business turnarounds, very big business turnarounds at the consulting industry, which is not easy because lots of egos, lots of people who have high expectations. And I have conducted those two turnarounds very, very successfully. Now that I've joined Top Employers for the past 5 years, I was invited for the startup of the company in the Americas. So I started as the country manager for Brazil. Then I moved to Latin America. Now I'm in charge of Americas region. So I'm the regional manager for the Americas from Canada to Argentina. And all based on this tiny little secret of making sure that people comes first and then the results come later. So, and I agree with you, Stacy. If I had Heather's book before, my life would be so much easier. But I'm really honored. I'm really happy to be part of this group of coaches. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you. That was awesome. Love sharing that journey. I'm trying to get better about this, slowing down, backing up, as my team member Ashley Rivera tells me. we want to go deeper. We want to learn more about the leaders and their personal lives. And I'm like, let's charge forward and conquer the world. You're like, wait a second, stop. I want to hear more from them. So that was from. Thank you, Ashley, for leading me in that way. And that all gave me chills. I love listening to all of you. It gave me so many chills. Okay, what I want to do, because we have 2 leaders on the screen that are from the book. And so for those who are listening, if you do have the book, pull it open. If you don't, but next time bring it, because we're going to be doing it chapter by chapter. So bring your book and let's like highlight it, right? So there's a story that Steve Paul tells, and it's related to Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar was a top sales speaker, presenter, just amazing savant as it relates to sales leadership. And so here, I'm going to read this from the book. So Zig Ziglar, a well-known speaker and author, understood how being accessible, even to those he had never met, could create a lifelong connection and a feeling of importance. Steve Paul, principal consultant at 668 and former president of SPCS, happily recalled a time when he met Zig at an event. Steve was blown away by Zig's openness to make him feel important and worthy. Steve fondly remembered how Zig invited him to sit with Zig and his wife, and then Zig made Steve the center of the conversation for the next 20 minutes. He kept encouraging me. I was telling him, I feel like I don't deserve to be on stage. I need to accomplish something. And he just wouldn't have any of it. So I had never forgotten that. Steve said that the way Zig was accessible and made him feel important became a big part of Steve's own leadership style. I love that. And I know there's so much more the context and color you can add to that, Steve. So if there's anything you want to fill in on that, definitely do it. But I just absolutely loved, I could visualize that happening and I could see how that could make you feel. And so, yeah, I'd love to you could expand on that.
Sure. I will expand on that. And I think what was so impressive on me was that it was real. Zig had a genuine interest in me as a person. And it was unbelievable. I mean, Gustavo, you used the word engagement. I always remember back on a couple of mentors that I had that simply believed in me, right? And how important that was. And I would say that Zig caused me to take that to a hyper kind of level. I literally looked at everything I did going forward as how do I raise people up in these situations, business situations, starting with the simple things like how do I treat the janitor on the elevator and, things like that. Right. So, so that was, it just really, he sparked me so much that, that I looked at every interaction that I had. I looked at every person that came in front of me at our business as an opportunity. This could be someone else that could shine for us. So I always thought it was really important to hear what they had to say, even if they were the most inexperienced person on the team. I wanted to hear what they had to say about what was in front of us. And that was a really good start. And there's, much more to it. I have a story. I have another story about that, but I think that's the very beginning point of that engagement. And when you truly listen to what they have to say, take action on some of those things, and let them see that their opinion is just important as everyone else's at the table.
I love that. Any feedback? So go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
I mean, I could carry that forward in a lot of different ways. I can give you a couple of real hands-on things that happen in the workplace today that have been my experiences also. And one of the things I did, I after being president of SPCS for so many years, I did consulting. I still do some consulting, various projects. But I took on a role at a company called Global Construction because I felt like, wow, this could be really exciting. I've been the boss for all these years. I would like to go and put some of this into practice and just really go hone my skills in a different world, right? And one of the guys here, our senior project manager, Eric, I watch him. He is so good at this. And what he does is, there's always a long line of people in terms of there's lots of things to do, lots of projects to do, but people always want to talk to him, right? And no matter what, no matter how busy we are, Eric will take the time to hear what this person has to say. Why did they come to see me? I don't care if it goes into the evening or whatever, and to listen to how he hears what they have to say and then asks more questions without jumping in and trying to solve their problem or whatever. It's just amazing. It makes, it's like I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is what a caring leader looks like. And, it's not all just about, like being a counselor. It's that type of engagement is real. And those people walk away knowing, maybe they've figured out some of their answers on their own, but they feel important. They really feel important to the company, to him, and they go forward on a mission to whatever it was, and that right there, I'll call that on the street level or the micro level. That's how you conduct yourself on a day-to-day kind of basis. And that's a really important thing. It's not easy to do.
Well, it's interesting. Well, Steve, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. What's interesting about that is it's the street level that actually makes the difference. So it's the expression of caring leadership through daily actions. It's the behaviors that we do. So it is the street stuff, right? The stuff that's right up front with the person and the human interactions that creates the feelings that makes people want to go over and above and stay with you and on your team as a leader, right? So because I want Stace and Gustavo to chime in on here, I just want to say hello, David. Yes, so amazing. That's true. And also BJ, hello, Ashley, and Luciano. So whoever else is out there, I'm just saying people who are actually, right now in the chat being active. And I appreciate that. They said it's really refreshing to see the courage and curiosity within these life forms. And so I love it. So let's just keep going. So who wants to kind of springboard off of what Steve was just talking about? Gustavo?
You want to go, Stacey? No, ladies first. Come on.
Okay. You're mute, Stace. Are you going to go?
You're my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hilarious. You'll see me looking over. I'm watching the chat on the live feed on LinkedIn because I'm loving it. There's great interaction over there, and I want to add my personal greeting to Heather's. And Gustavo, I'm curious to hear more about your story. You're mentioned in chapter 2 of the book, and you talked about how important it is to seek always ways to change and grow as a leader. And you talked about connecting with them. And I had a question for you. What is one way that stands out in your mind as being really effective to connect with people and help them feel important?
I guess to me, one of the biggest experience that I have when I was dealing with this, dealing with people was how can I stimulate people to expand their minds, and how can I stimulate people to use the knowledge that they have? So most people know what to do, but they are, I guess, too afraid or too, I don't know, they have sometimes ashamed to say, that's what I'm talking to. So this is, it's not important. So people tend to minimize everything they know. And I say, no, it's the opposite. So I was hearing Steve, and I remember a situation that I used to have in the past. And I was talking to a guy, and of my team members, and he was telling me, I don't know how to deal with this. Okay, so let's forget that we are in an office. Let's pretend we are in a barbecue. Let's pretend we are in a bar. Let's pretend we're doing anything else. So speak from the top of our head. What would you do? I would do this and this and this. Well, that's a very appropriate solution to what you're saying. So I don't understand why you haven't put this as an alternative from the beginning, because it's a very valuable option. It's something that it's totally possible to have this. And people, when they started presenting those crazy ideas, they started to feel validated, because they see I'm not so far off of people's expectations about me. So bridging this gap between what people think of me and what I really do, what I really contribute to the teams, was really important to have on this ongoing process. And having this in a way that sounds, sounds legit, sounds like something that is, you really mean it. this is something that helped me build this this confidence with this trust with the teams. So it's really interesting because many people they are too shy or too afraid or to believe in their own selves, and we have to have as leaders to open these doors, open those windows, say, you know what, you know better, you know a lot of things that we don't know. So if we share our knowledge, if we share our ideas, we perhaps go and have more interesting ideas. We have more effective ways to tackle situations, and that's what we do as a team. So I mean, and those conversations have to be put in a context that people perceive that this is not something just I'm not doing just because it's my obligation. I want to do this because I want to, because I feel like I can help you. I feel like I will benefit from it. I'll be learning from you. And when they see, especially younger guys, when they see that the leader is interested to learn from them, it changes dramatically the way that the confidence and the relationship changes as well. So some few examples that I'd like to share with you from the beginning of this conversation.
In that same chapter on making it feel important. So here's what I say there. So the benefits of proactively connecting with those we lead are clear. Gustavo Tavares, country manager for Brazil at Top Employers Institute, said it perfectly. You have to think of ways on how you can connect with your people so you can become a better leader. Otherwise, you'll be isolating yourself. And this isolation doesn't create anything else but confusion, a lack of communication, and a lack of trust. And that's exactly what he was getting to there. That real close connection where you are not in your ivory tower, where you are not disconnecting yourself from their plight or from the work that's getting done, but you are right neck and neck with them. And you are, I love this idea of don't minimize yourself. Let's expand what you bring to the table. Because again, that's a sense of importance. Like, oh, you have something to say. Like Steve said, whether you're the janitor, the person who's cleaning my hotel room, whatever that is, right? You are a valued human. And this is not even a title thing, right? This is leadership as how are we in our own skin, self-leadership. No matter what your title is, no matter who you are or where you're at, not even at work. Do you show up in that elevator, even in the public space, where someone comes up to you, how do you make them feel important, not lesser than, not like you can step on them or push them aside? And that's really what this is about, is showing up as caring leaders in our own skin, despite any titles and despite like geography, where we're at. So I love that so much. Thank you for bringing that up. So anybody want to jump in on that one? And I'm gonna continue to look at the chat too while you're doing that.
Well, I'd like to share a story about a leader who was a caring person, but an incident where he didn't demonstrate caring leadership. Heather, is that appropriate here? No names, right? No names. I worked as a member of about 100-person small consulting firm, and the president of the firm used to leave. Okay, you can tell how long ago this was, friends. He used to leave company-wide voice message periodically to give us an update and maybe give some props to people. And on one particular message, I was singled out. He thanked me publicly via voicemail for making the company look good to one of our clients on a very important engagement. It was a pilot. It was high risk. As consultants, we've been there, right? And I know in your world too, Gustavo, this happens. And so he mentioned me my name, and I found myself listening and feeling angry rather than happy. And it took me a while to sort out the reason, but once I'd figured it out, I called him back up and asked if we could chat a bit. And I said, look, first I want to thank you for attempting to reinforce what was done well. That's great. And I know you care about me, and I can hear the appreciation in your voice. But what you might not have realized is the potential impact on the other 8 people on the team that the client never met. And if it weren't for those people, helping with the design, producing the materials, managing the business side of the account, managing the relationship with the customer, they wouldn't have seen the best me. And while I felt important in that voicemail, I wonder how many of those other people might have felt less than important. And so I think for me here, a leadership lesson that I've tried to put into practice is when praising people, especially, the old advice, praise in public, critique or coach correctively in private, be careful that you're praising all the people who contributed to the effort. or the unsung hero. I'm the person the client sees when I'm in the consulting role, right? Or the coach role, Heather. And so I just thought I would share that. And I'm really fond of that gentleman. And like I said, caring leader was not what he was demonstrating at that point, even though he was well-intended.
Thanks, Stacey. That was good. I want to go to one of the chat questions. Is from Ashley, and she said, "I'm curious to know more about the differences you've experienced in different countries." So, I mean, obviously, I would have to say that Gustavo's probably going to take this because he's the one who's been in probably a lot of these countries and he's there a lot.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, do you see? I would say maybe the way to qualify that is, do you see receptivity in certain areas of the world more than you do in others, especially because the work you do is very similar to the work we do at Employee Fanatics, just the idea of working with employers, working with organizations to try to drive up engagement. So I'm curious to know if you are, globally, do you see receptivity to some of the stuff we're talking about more than others?
Yes, I would say that the spark is about the same, but the way to get to the spark is different, So what motivates people tends to be similar things. But how to get this spark lit is different. So I've worked in a more, let's say, closed society. Well, even in Latin America, cultures are very different. So in Brazil, we are much more open, but we tend to be much more outspoken. But we tend to be more. We speak a lot of things, but we don't necessarily mean what you're speaking. In other parts of of Latin America, probably you're looking at people who are more, they say yes to everything that you ask them, but in fact they're saying no. So the issue here was, so I understand that the needs, I understand what are the drivers to access and to make people be more oriented or be more committed or be more motivated to do their jobs. But how to get there is different. I remember that when I was living in Mexico, I have several conversations with people with my team, and I had a 9-people team there. And it was usual for me to have those meetings, and I presented the ideas and I was sharing with them, well, what do you think? They say, oh, no, it's fine. It's great. Oh, it's amazing. Let's do it. And I remember that when we finished the meeting, every single one of those 9 people came to my office and say, you know what? I have an idea that probably might be interested. So why don't we think about changing what you said to this? I say, guys, we have just had a conversation, the 9 of us, and we all agreed to do this. So I cannot change it right now. I'm sorry. So it was something that they need to adjust their mindset to my culture, and I had to adjust my mindset to their culture. So when we finally get to the point, say, guys, so that's the plan. So what do you think about it? How do you like it? Let's do it together. How do you think? You have any suggestions? Is it doable? And with time, people started to making their comments. People say, you know what? I'm afraid that I'm saying something that is totally crazy, but I'd like to see this and that. And when 1 people in the room start doing this, the other 7, 8 people start to say, well, if she's doing it, I can do it as well. So it's a domino effect that everybody benefits from. But it was really hard for me to get to this point where, it took me, I don't know, months for the first people to raise her hand and say, you know what, Gustavo, probably your idea is not that good. Say, excellent. I was looking forward to hear that.
So earning the trust between a couple of different cultures was harder than it sounds like. You had to put more work into that.
Yes. So, but something that I was saying. So getting there was a little bit more complicated. But once we understood exactly what was in it for them, what was in it in terms of what they could gain from it. So it was something that was really, really interesting to see people, adjusting their mindset, adjusting their behaviors, adjusting the way of doing things to see, well, there's a new possibility here. There's a new way of trying to approach things here. So that's what I've learned. So in my next international opportunity, perhaps I will be spending much more time on how to get to the spark rather than trying to lit the spark. So it's a tip that I like to do to give to people who especially dealing with international colleagues in other parts of the world, because sometimes we go too assertive on asking them to do the things, and perhaps it's not about being assertive, it's about getting to understand the reason why that people will do that. And once we do that, you can be sure that the commitment is already there, and the people will do its best and will be, performing very solid, very, in a very nice way.
Stace, you want to add anything to that? It's been a little bit.
Just well said, Gustavo. And there's nothing like real life experience from leaders to help us learn. That's why Heather chose you in the book and chose you for the Leaders with Heart. What's the name of the podcast, Heather? Do I have that right?
Yep, right.
Yeah.
Leadership with Heart.
Yeah, and Steve, I wonder if we could come back to you. I think you mentioned earlier you had another story, and I find I'm really curious to hear it.
Oh, well, sure. Well, thank you, Stace. This is right in line with being accessible. And the interesting thing is, as leaders, no matter where we're leading, what team we're leading, we always have to have our A game, right? And having an A game doesn't necessarily mean putting on a phony face or anything like that. You have to genuinely care, but it's so easy to have a weird look or thinking about something when you're walking through the office and someone gets the wrong impression. Oh no, oh man, that's going to be a rough day. Steve looks really mad or something like that. So, but here's what happened one time. We had our all company safety meeting, which we did every month. And it was a good chance to talk about other issues and do training and that sort of thing. And right afterwards, one of the guys comes up to me and says, Steve, I really need to talk to you. Can you give me 15 minutes? And I said to him, I apologize. I got 3 back-to-back 10-minute meetings with people, and then I have a hard deadline to get out the door to a meeting with a customer. And I must have had some kind of sinister face when I told him that. And the look he gave me back was like, he was really hurt and offended in the way that I spoke to him there. And I didn't mean to come across that way. And I said, look, I really apologize, but I just have to do this. Let's do this. Get together with so-and-so, your manager, and let's get you on the calendar and let's talk about it. I promise we'll get this done next week, right? So what happened was when we got together with him, we realized, and he was a young talent. He was just a guy that you really want on your team. And he was really feeling stuck in our layers of management. And as it turned out, we just sat down and heard him out. And we found out that he really wanted to learn more about estimating and about all of our processes. And he was telling us about all the things he wants to do. But here he was at a point where he is actually considering going to another company, right? And so what we did was we instituted something we called acceleration meetings, where we could just hear people, listen to people on a regular basis, have them come in and say, hey, just say, hey, what's going on? And you'd learn so much about what was going in on their life before you even heard about, let's talk in goals and that sort of thing. And it really made a huge difference in our company. We made it a company-wide thing. And as time went on with him, he eventually became our service manager, and then he went on to become a project manager, handling huge responsibilities for us. And he kept growing, and so our relationship became about a 3.5 year relationship until he moved on to a much bigger company with a much higher role. And we had the fruits of working together for that time where we probably would have missed out. So that's that accessibility thing. He was feeling stuck. Now he felt important. He was engaged, and it spread throughout the whole company. And I would have to say that it was kind of a lesson learned in terms of, you think you're at a certain point in your leadership journey, but you still make lots of mistakes and you still learn from them.
So true.
Yes.
So true.
No,
I'll chime in here because, Steve, at the start of that story, you were talking about being intently focused on something that was important and the shift that you made to focusing on them feeling important. And that dynamic is something I struggle with, especially right now. Heather already knows I've been buried in work and some personal stuff for the past couple of weeks. And actually, my wife would tell you it's the past couple of months. And during this period of time, I got a text message from a colleague of mine saying, when you have some time, I'd love to chat. Now, my internal reaction was, oh, okay, fill in the blank, oh crap, or something along those lines. And then I thought, this guy is so important to me. We're relatively new colleagues, and he's somebody that I really find inspiring. I shut off my PC and I picked up the phone, and I just double checked this today because my memory was that it was a good long conversation. Folks, it was 75 minutes. And what he showed me of himself in that conversation was huge. I don't know if he felt important, but I will tell you that he has become even more important in my life, Steve, just as the colleague that you and your team listened to grew to become important in your lives, important in the life of your company, and then important beyond that. So great reminder to all of us to take that time to listen.
No, it's something, Steve, and what you're saying now, Steve, is something that I always remember, that we always have to stay out of the eye of the hurricane. Sometimes we are dragged to the work, we're dragged to all the responsibilities, and I was a bit like you, Steve, having consecutive 10 minutes meetings, and my life is super complicated because I work in 3 different time zones. So I work. My headquarters is in the Netherlands. I work in Brazil. I have people in Mexico. So it's a huge span of hours, and I can easily start working at 6 a.m. and go to 9 p.m. every day if I want to. But I have to also, as part of the leadership style I have to implement, is that I have to allow some time for me, and I have to dedicate some time for my team. So, and sometimes those times can be crazy. It's not something that I say, okay, I can give you 15 minutes for a coffee, but let's have a walk. Walk with me and tell me everything that you need to do until we get to where to get. So I'm making the time. I know it's not necessarily a time that I have to and sipping coffee and talking about life. But we'll say, walk with me, tell me what you need, and help me help you. But we need to do this together.
That's so important, Gustavo,
yeah.
Because you cannot, as caring leaders, our A game has to be that we're genuine. I mean, this is who we are. This is who we believe. And you can't possibly have an A game on, especially if you're focused, if it's not real and you haven't taken that time for reflection in what, whatever way that is for you, right?
Yes. Now, I have taken people to the grocery store already. To talk with me. Okay, I need to go to the grocery store. Go with me, and we'll talk on the way in, out. Well, I got my groceries that go back. It's 15 minutes. It's time that I have. You want it, you take it, yours. Let's go. Let's do it. And it's amazing because you had time for you to also think about other things. Whenever you leave, I like this very much. It's something that I've learned with working with the Dutch people. They tend to do outdoors things. So when something is a bit more critical to be discussed, they don't do this indoors. They take it outdoors. So they love it so to go and discuss and go and walk around the block and go to the beach and have this outside, because it helps you to also reset your mind.
That is so great. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, sorry.
We in our warehouse, we had a basketball hoop set up because people figured out if I was pretty wound up, that if Steve was shooting baskets, could be a real good thing, and all this stuff could just come off of his shoulders, and they would leave Steve alone when he was shooting baskets, and then as soon as I'd been out there a few minutes, then maybe they would come and join me. So it sounds very similar to your walk to the grocery store.
I love that. Well, so listen, I want to make sure to respect everybody's time. So I want to wrap up. For number one, thank you, because I've gotten chills multiple times as I've been speaking to all of you today, and I'm hoping everybody who's out there in the world. By the way, this will be on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, so it just stays there. Thank goodness. Maybe people can go watch it afterward, right? I did want to end with just this one part of the book. So we're talking, of course, The Art of Caring Leadership, and it says. This is the part of the chapter where it says the art of caring leadership in practice. And it says this: there is no higher form of care than to make someone feel important. As a leader, you can be the greatest source of positive emotions in those you lead by recognizing their efforts in specific ways, taking time to connect one-on-one and just being there for them. Be consistent in your efforts. Choose to be the light in their lives. And that would be, I'd love to have that be at least my closing message. If anybody else wants to have a closing couple comments or anything here, I'd like to do that. And then we can make sure everybody's on their way. Hopefully everybody's been inspired today too by this. But anybody have any closing statement, something that you'd like to think?
It's all about empathy. It's all about empathy. So you have to treat people the way you like to be treated, and the magic happens. It's as simple as that.
I would like to say, as leaders, as caring leaders, stick your neck out and be vulnerable. Stick your neck out. And very impressed with your work, Heather and Stacy. Keep up the great work. This book is, nails it, right?
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations. Awesome.
Yes,
awesome.
I'll add my congratulations too, Heather. It's amazing what you're building. You are the node or the hub of an increasingly large connected community of leaders like Gustavo and Steve. I chatted privately to y'all. I'm loving this conversation today. Like you, Heather, I got lots of goosebump moments and a healthy dose of inspiration. And that came from you too, Heather. Thank you so much for letting us play a part and for featuring such caring leaders on your chats and on your broadcasts.
Thank you. And remember, everybody, caring leadership is a journey. We are all caring leaders in development. We can't do it alone. And so make sure you join us at the caringleadership.co website, where the community is there, free community for us to kind of talk and grow and develop together. Be well. Take care. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.